to reflect with you today during the 24th session on multilateralism today and what UN at 80 means for the youth. Of course, we join in the celebration of the United Nations Women Day. I think a lot of Kenyans will also be heading to New York. And so we celebrate what justice and injustice joking has just said, the rights and the presence of the women, not just in Africa, but the whole world, to take up leadership positions. We celebrate. I look at the audience today, and I'm convinced that you have gathered to exchange ideas, articulate passionately on issues of concern, be able even to model negotiation on important matters, and build solidarity and consensus on a shared future that takes into account competing interests. In simple terms, this is what is actually multilateralism. I also had a long chance to read and reflect on the remarks of Secretary General Antonio Guterres on the 80th anniversary of the UN. What immediately caught my eye was his interpretation of the United Nations preamble. I quote, "We, the peoples of the United Nations." The preamble then says, "determined." That is born out of the ashes of the Second World War. Our organization was a result of a global commitment to studying both English and French for a start. Some of you could even study Portuguese, Greek, whatever. So you become a proper citizen of the world. That's my challenge to you this month. But back to East Africa. I was asked to chair a ministerial tripartite commission to revive the community and initiate the resurrection of our community. Today we proudly sing not just the Kenyan national anthem, but also the East African anthem. And I'm glad to report that we accomplished this task in 1999, along with my colleagues, the Foreign Minister of Uganda, the Foreign Minister of Tanzania. Then, in fact, it was not even President Kikwete, to the Foreign Minister of Kashira, and Minister of Bunda. We did. We delivered to President Moi, President Alia, Mwinyi, and also President Museveni. And today, East Africa community is firmly re-established. We acknowledge we made a mistake in 1977, and Europe even learned faster. And now, the European Union, comprising as they do some 27 nations, really gained a lot of gained experience with what East Africans have tried to do, and they collapsed and became a big problem, even in sharing the assets of the East African community. For example, the East African Airways that stand. Today, Tanzanians do think that we took off with some of the airplanes to form Kenya-Mun. These are some of the issues that you may not know. But as you study the history of the community, you will be able to avoid those pitfalls and build a stronger community. Friends, we more than succeeded in sparing 3 generations of East Africans from the scourges of prolonged divisiveness, and our motto is hailed around the world as a beacon of hope, peace, and prosperity. We should all be proud of this multilateralism, which has expanded from 3 in 2000 to 8 countries of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Somalia, a total of 330 million East Africans, up from 66 million at the time. EAC is a great example of a spirit entrenched in the preamble of the United Nations that is a core to promote social progress and better standards of life at its defining preamble, and one that has shaped our nation's history. As we reflect on this storied history, we must unite our strength to maintain international peace and security, thus securing the United Nations 8-year-old legacy of strength, longevity, and wisdom. Comrades, wisdom. You forgot. Regardless of today's bleakness and hopelessness, remember this. Kenya, a 9-year-old republic, that joined the United Nations as its 113th member state, seized the opportunity to host the first United Nations agency to be based in a developing country following the Stockholm Conference on the Human Environment in 1972. We ran faster than Kenya-Mun, Africa's fastest man. And this is what we are able to witness today because of seizing the moment, taking advantage of our positioning, because I'm sure you know we are surrounded by a very difficult neighborhood. When, for example, communism collapsed and the Berlin Wall came down, I remember Ronald Reagan issuing remarks to Gorbachev. So Mr. Gorbachev, who was the leader of USSR, bring down this wall. Then the global order changed. The world expected to reap after the Cold War, collapse of the Cold War. They expected that there was going to be international peace and security everywhere. But lo and behold, terrorism sprang up. And we had a region. We have been attacked in Nairobi, not once or twice, in Dusit and other places. We have been hit. The Horn of Africa is a big challenge, not just